things I wanted to touch on specifically was the Pittsburgh Penguins' commitment not only to this program but to youth hockey in general. As I'm sure you all know, from Mary on down, a lot of the senior management ownership have kids that play the game, and they've made a significant commitment to youth hockey in general, and then also trying to grow the game, number one, and then number two, to add structure and provide as many resources as we can, not only to this program, but to all the tier 2 programs in the area as well, trying to grow it and then build out a consistent model. And that'll be part of what Matt and Ty do this year. Now that Matt's freed up a little bit on the business side, the focus is kind of taking this model and trying to export it to Mount Lebanon and South Point and other rinks, so that we're all kind of training in the same model overall from a practice perspective, and then getting those kids on board and hopefully building the base of it with getting more kids in the game and then improving the way we train as a whole. So that'll be a big piece of what they do. But the goal for us is kind of that development pyramid, or the overall pyramid as far as kids in the game. And what we've tried to do is raise funds to get more kids in at the youngest ages. The foundation a few years back, you guys may remember all the Christmas ornaments that came out that were made out of the steel from the roof of the old Civic Arena. Those dollars have all been reinvested back in the community. We've purchased ball hockey equipment for all of the elementary schools in a 10-county radius. So again, the thought process, just getting sticks in kids' hands, teaching them how to play the game, giving them an opportunity to develop the love for the sport. And then the second piece of that was trying to develop some facilities where kids can go out and play and just play on their own, not really a structured setting. So we've developed through the foundation again 13 ball hockey rinks in and around the facility, or in and around Allegheny County, to get kids out, just give them an opportunity to play the game. Next step is obviously taking those kids from off ice and transitioning them to on ice, which is why we started the Learn to Play program 7 or 8 years ago, I guess it is, and we've got over 7,300 new participants in the game specifically because of that program, which is now being replicated across North America. But getting those kids on the ice, and then the more kids we get at the base of the pyramid, the better off we're going to be when we get closer to the top and what we see at the AAA level as well. So increasing the number of kids we get in the game, and then finally developing them as fans and getting them in. So we donate 15,000 tickets on an annual basis for the free game for kids, which this year is that first week of October. Pushed back a little bit because of the World Cup of Hockey, but for us, we're developing new players, we're getting more kids on the ice, and we're trying to develop fans so that long term, we've got more people supporting the sport as a whole. And that doesn't even touch on the commitment we made by this facility that you're in today. So obviously, we started the process on this building back in 2010. One of the things David Morehouse, the president and CEO of the Penguins, said was, go out in North America, here's what we want to do. We want to take combine the medical facilities with performance training, with on-ice training as well, and create a model for developing youth hockey players in the region. So he sent me on kind of a wild goose chase and said, go out to all 30 markets and see what you can find. So we went all over the US and Canada, and we came back and said, positive is, there's pluses and minuses to this. The positive is there's nothing like this. The negative is there's nothing like this. Like, we're really developing from scratch. So we were fortunate that they made a significant investment. We had a great partnership with UPMC. And a year ago this week, we opened up the UPMC Lemieux Sports Complex. Since, in that year term, since we opened up, we've had 7 NHL clubs come through and look to try to replicate that. So from that standpoint, we're ahead of the curve. So that's a benefit for you and your kids as far as what we're providing here. And I think you're going to see it replicated in a number of other NHL markets moving forward. So what does that mean for you and your player? Obviously, you get the chance to play and practice and develop the same as the NHL club does, with not only the guys that go out and play down at Consol Energy Center every week, but you also get the same guys training your athletes as training there. So with Ty and with Max Evanoff, who's Malkin's skating coach, you have the same guys working on ice that we do throughout our entire system. So I think that's a benefit. We're trying to start that model at the youngest age group and then work it through, obviously age appropriate. We've got the off-ice performance training provided upstairs by Gary Roberts and Lauren, which I mentioned. two of the best in the business who actually work with our NHL club. So from that standpoint, again, you're getting the consistent training and the similar training model, again, age appropriate, but similar training model as the NHL club gets and what we do in Wilkes-Barre. And then you have the access to the same group of physicians and specialists across the hallway with UPMC. So when you have an injury, you're getting the same treatment. So it gives them kind of an opportunity to start to track that research on injuries, injury prevention, from the youngest age group the whole way to pros, male and female. So now it becomes research-based, and that's what they're looking to do, is create kind of a scientific training model for moving forward. And there's been a lot of science put behind what Matt and Ty are going to do with your players on ice, but this gives us the opportunity to kind of have our own little research lab right here in Pittsburgh. So we're working through that. And then the healthy food choices. Obviously, you guys have been out to the Training Table Cafe. We kind of practice what we preach. There's not a fryer in the building. The same chef that prepares the meals for our guys in the back is the same chef that operates everything out here. They put a lot of time in just kind of sourcing a lot of the ingredients to make sure that it's the exact same stuff that they're feeding the NHL guys. So again, what does that mean for you? Hopefully that means that you guys are getting consistent training across the board and by the best in the business. I hope you and your players appreciate and understand that. I mean, I've been around and kind of circling back full circle on the 100 nights I spent in hotels last year. 30 of those were in NHL markets, and I can guarantee you that not one NHL club has made the commitment that this organization has to developing the sport, getting more kids in the game, and then providing the best training for their Tier 1 hockey league, or the Tier 1 hockey players. So from that standpoint, you're very fortunate to be where you are today. Hopefully the kids understand that too. From that standpoint, the facility itself, we've kind of seen some indirect results. We can't say that the Penguins won the Stanley Cup this year specifically because of this facility, but talking to the coaches, you can say it played a huge part in where we are. The fact that they can walk directly from the locker room if they're injured across the hall and have their MRI taken right there has been huge for the team. Those types of things, having the docs on site on a daily basis that they have access to, having Gary on site, having all the new training staff that we've got here, having Ty and Max available to them at all times. It's played a huge part in what they did this year and what they were able to accomplish. On the Pens Elite side, kind of the same thing. We had great participation. We represented the organization well at districts, obviously advanced to nationals. We had 5 of our 6 teams at nationals. And we won our first ever Tier 1 Elite Championship in the history of Pittsburgh hockey. So from that standpoint, again, can't say today that this was the reason why, but we can say it played into it for sure. And for what Matt and Ty are going to talk about now, I think we've got a plan today, and I think you're going to continue to see it evolve over time, but we've made great progress in just a short amount of time. So.